What's up guys, welcome to this review of Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. So, this film, a sequel to Suicide Squad, part of the DC EU. What did I think of it? I loved this film, I thought it was great, really good. Right out the bat, what's it about? I said it's part of the DC EU. Here we have Harley Quinn, she's just broke up with the Joker, and now she's going out in the world on her own. This film's all about identity, where you fit in the world, how you can be independent. You don't have to be related to someone else to make it big or to be who you want to be. And it does a good job of exploring those themes. But this film also has the job of introducing us to the Birds of Prey. Then there's Black Mask and his scheme that's going on. There's a whole big plot surrounding a jewel, a diamond that's gone missing, and everyone wants this diamond. And that's basically what brings everyone in this story together. So that's all I'm going to say about the story, really, to be honest. So Harley Quinn's out on her own, the Birds of Prey are out there doing their own thing. And then you've got all the crime stuff going on for this diamond. The story is really fun. It's pretty simplistic when you get it down to the bare bones basics of it. And that's probably the only big criticism I have of the film, is that yes, it's fun, it's action-packed, it's very enjoyable, and I liked it a lot, but there's not actually a lot going on when you really look at it. But that's not too much of an issue for the film, I don't think. What I liked about the film is that once you take away the credits, the film's only like an hour 40, maybe an hour 45 minutes tops. And there's only a slight little thing at the end of the credits, which probably isn't worth sticking around for, to be honest. So it's a brisk film, it moves through very quickly, and it gets straight to the point, it does exactly what it wants. It doesn't feel like there's any meat or fat on the bones yet, and that's a good thing, because so many of these DC movies, like Aquaman and Shazam, they're like 2.5 hours almost, and Wonder Woman as well. It's like, right, these are long experiences, you've got to be in a certain mood to sit down for them. This is totally a film that you can just sit down when you've got the time, put it on, have a good time, move on with the rest of your day. And that's exactly what I wanted from this, to be honest. So, I mentioned earlier how it is a sequel to Suicide Squad. So, Suicide Squad, not a good film at all. A lot of people did not like that film, but it's still done well. How much of this is a sequel then? Well, it does draw on Suicide Squad. There are mentions of certain scenes and moments in there. You do see little flashback images here and there. This is very much the same Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad, only they're doing a much better job of presenting her here. So yeah, you don't have to have seen Suicide Squad. It might help a little bit to get an idea of who the character is and what her origins are, I suppose, but the film does a good job of explaining that anyway. But yeah, this is very much a part of that universe. Only now, the universe is better. So there's not really a huge deal to talk about in relation to the story exactly. There's a lot of brilliant action. The action in here is really well done. The action is very visceral, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily gory. There's not like huge blood and guts all over the place or anything, but you do hear like the cracking and breaking of bones. There's a lot of like slow motion moments of people getting like their kneecaps and legs bent and twisted in ways that they're not meant to be twisted. The action's brilliant. This is some of the best comic book action I've seen possibly ever. The best way I can describe this film in a nutshell is it's John Wick meets Quentin Tarantino meets Deadpool, all merged into one, and it works really well. You've got the comedy and humor and the presentation with the voiceover stuff of Deadpool. You've got the style and the class elements of Quentin Tarantino. Then you've got the action of John Wick. And each of these elements works brilliantly together. But to talk about the comedy, I wouldn't say this has a lot of comedy. There is comedy in there, but I don't think this is overtly trying to be a funny film. There are some really funny moments in there. But some of the jokes I don't think are meant to be funny. Some of them are really funny. So the comedy I think works really well in that regard, because I don't think it's trying to be too funny. But yeah, the action scenes are brilliant. There's lots of creativity. Some of the ways in which they're depicted certain characters' abilities and powers and so on. Like Harley Quinn here, they really draw on the fact that she's like an expert level gymnast and she's got all this acrobatic stuff. They don't really explain how she's got that, But yeah, this is something from the comic books, and that she is like an expert level gymnast, and it showcases her unique fighting style, how she is like running in and jumping around and flying all over the place with a baseball bat and the hammer and so on. They really utilize her skills and abilities really well. They draw on the fact that she's also a psychologist. She actually has a lot of intelligence behind her, despite the crazy facade that she puts on. Although maybe that's badly worded. I don't think she's putting on the crazy facade. I think she actually is crazy. So one of the problems with her depiction in Suicide Squad is that it felt like she was acting crazy rather than she was crazy. So you never got a sense in Suicide Squad as to whether or not she was legitimately crazy or if she was just doing it to please the Joker and to play this character. In this film, it's very clearly that's just who she is. She is bonkers, she's mad. And again, not the nicest words to use, but it gets the point across. But to talk more about the characters, because this is really a character-driven movie, you've got the Birds of Prey characters, Cassandra Cain's in there, you've got Black Canary, Renee Montoya, and Huntress. Without going into spoilers, this is not a Birds of Prey movie. This is very much a Harley Quinn movie. She's the main character. The Birds of Prey are popping up here and there. And also, it's not a Birds of Prey movie in the fact that this is all about how the Birds of Prey get together and become a team. So, trying to avoid too much spoilers, most of the film, these are just individuals who are slowly converging together. So you've got Renee Montoya, who's a cop who's kind of sick and tired of the way in which the system works. She's going out trying to solve these crimes, trying to be a good cop. You've got Cassandra Cain, who is a pickpocket who would one day be Batgirl. I really like the depictions of all of these characters. You've got a unique version of Black Canary, which I think is really well done. Probably, I would say, the highlight of the Birds of Prey characters, to be honest. The way in which they depict her powers is really good. The way in which they tease them out is really good. And you've got Huntress. So Huntress, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I think she's brilliant in this role. But of all the characters, Mary Elizabeth Winstead isn't in much of the film. She pops up for like a brief view here and there. One of the main key side plots of this film is, who is this character? Because she's kind of shown up from nowhere. And it's as the film progresses that you find out more and more about her and the way in which she ties into everything, and I think it works really well. Great performances from everyone. The main characters, side characters, everyone. Everyone's just putting in a unique, quirky, individual character, and it's brilliant. So that now takes me to Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, the main villain of the piece. He is amazing in this film. Ewan McGregor seems to be having so much fun in this role. He's psychotic and crazy and individual, but not in the same sense that the Joker is. The Joker was psychotic and crazy in the sense that he was unpredictable and he would kill you just like that and not even faze him. Whereas Ewan McGregor, it's more, he's psychotic and crazy because he's so selfish and obsessed with himself and appearances and possessions and so on. He's very self-centered, very focused on him as an individual, and it works really well. So this is a much more extravagant and flamboyant portrayal of Black Mask than I'm used to, but I kind of like this. It sets him apart from a typical like crime boss character, which is what he's kind of usually depicted as. But yeah, Ewan McGregor, absolutely brilliant. Without a doubt, one of the best comic book villains we've seen in quite a while. At least definitely in the DCAU. Then next to him you got Mr. Zsasz. This is where I'm a little conflicted a little bit, because I really like the performance from Chris Messina and I like the depiction of the character in the film, but at the same time the depiction of the character in the film is very much a key henchman who's got crazy psychotic tendencies, but it's still the Mr. Zsasz that we know from the comic books. The problem is that the Mr. Zsasz from the comic books is essentially a serial killer. Whereas here in this film, he's more of a bodyguard and a henchman. That's where I'm conflicted, because I would have liked to have seen the serial killer approach to it, but we got this version instead. And I like this version, but again, I feel like I'd still want to see that version somewhere. So yeah, I liked it, but I liked the other one as well, and I would have liked to have seen the other one in some way or another. But the way in which they've actually utilized what we know of Mr. Zsasz, where he marks on his body every time he kills someone and how he is crazy and psychotic, that works well with the way in which they've explored his character a bit more detailed in this film. But yeah, characters are brilliant across the board. Story is bare basic and pretty simplistic. Now into the production side of things, the soundtrack is great. Unlike Suicide Squad, where they just seem to be putting in some songs for the hell of it, this film, all the songs make sense where they are. They actually uplift the action and the moments in the film. They actually make the film cooler and entertaining, and they work really well. This is a really, really good soundtrack. Then you've got the direction. I think the direction and the editing work in tandem together in this film. It's really well done. Kathy Yan is the director. I'm not familiar with her. I think she's only done one feature film before this. I think after this film, she's going to become a known name. She's going to start doing much bigger films and get much more attention, and I think it's well deserved. She is a great director based on this film. The fact that she's managed to balance the story with all the moving parts, the side stuff, and all the characters, because there's quite a lot of characters when you look at them, because they are, again, all individuals to begin with, and then they slowly converge into one towards the end of the film. So the way in which she's balanced them is really well done. Again, Mary Elizabeth Winstead doesn't have too much to do, but then she doesn't really need to be in much more of the film than what she's in. So the way it's worked really well. The editing, the fact that there are flashbacks and so on, and how they're constantly explaining things that, oh, maybe I should go back and tell you this, and it shows you this. It works really well, and that it never feels like convoluted or for too much going on at once. It feels really well paced out. So they could have probably told this in chronological order, but it would have came across as much more standard and generic. And that's what I thought of Birds of Prey in a nutshell. I really, really like this film. It might be one of my favourite comic book movies ever, although it should be said now, I'm a big fan of Harley Quinn. She's one of my favourite comic book characters of all time. So the fact that they've nailed this character, Margot Robbie has now made Harley Quinn her character, the same way that Ryan Reynolds has made Deadpool his character, and Robert Downey Jr. has made Tony Stark his. This is Margot Robbie's character now, and it's up to whoever follows her in this role one day to try and up the game or to do something different with it. So yeah, I really like this film. I do recommend it, and I'm going to go into a couple of little spoiler points, but before I do that, you should go and watch the film and then come back afterwards. But of course, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant_Burton, and of course subscribe to my channel. The more subscribers I get, the more content like this I can make. But now it's time for spoilers. So not too much to say spoiler wise. I liked the final act when the Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn all merging together, and Cassandra Cain's there as well, and how Black Mask brings in all of his goons and henchmen. That final act really feels well deserved. There's tons of action, lots of comedy and humour. When you've got characters in the foreground beating up guys, breaking their legs, and then you see Harley Quinn bouncing around on a trampoline in the background, having fun, laughing and beating up guys as well. It's so well choreographed and arranged. There's constantly something going on, and that goes for almost all of these action scenes. There's so much style and class behind them. It really feels like they've been well thought out and well choreographed and arranged. Visually, the film's stunning as well. There's a lot of slow motion stuff. Normally I don't like slow motion, especially when it comes to the action scenes, but here it works really well to actually get the visceral nature of them across. The way that you want to see the way in which they swing the bats towards people's head. You want to see how it collides with them and what exactly the damage is to the people. And this is an R-rated movie. I think it utilises the R rating really well as well. There's a lot of bad language, a lot of I wouldn't say it's over the top action either. I would say it is fairly believable. Obviously it's a little exaggerated, the fact that they're able to take down so many people at once and so on, but the action does feel real and gritty and violent. But yeah, I think it's really well done R rating wise. So Black Mask in this film, I love the way in which they deal with his character in the end. The fact that he does basically just explode. I thought that was hilarious, the way that they took him out. Although it is disappointing because it means that now we're not going to get a sequel with his character. Of course we could get a film set in the past with his character or something, but yeah, still, Ewan McGregor was so good in this role. I want to see him play this character again in some form. It's just a shame that they killed him off. But it works really well. So there's a running gag throughout the film about Huntress and how no one's sure who she is. So everyone's calling her the crossbow killer. And at first it doesn't seem like a joke, it just feels like, right, that's a little cheesy, a little weird and corny. So throughout the film, everyone's saying, no, who's this crossbow killer? Who's this crossbow killer? And then eventually she's like, I'm Huntress. And the joke, I'm not giving it any justice yet, but the joke works really well and good payoff towards the end to something that I didn't even think they were building up to. So yeah, that works well. And I like the character of Huntress, how she is like socially awkward and she's not exactly in line or in key with what everyone else is thinking or saying or doing. She's unhinged, let's say. And then in the end of the film, Birds of Prey finally come together. You see a little glimpse of them all in our outfits. I wasn't that impressed with the outfits that they actually gave them. They looked like they're wearing like street level like tracksuits rather than crime fighting gear. I just think they could have maybe upped the budget a little bit and made them a little more stylish and flash. But yeah, it's a minor gripe because it is only in like that one shot. If they do a sequel, which I hope they do, I really hope they get a sequel, maybe they'll improve the outfits a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of all I've got to say about this film. There's not a lot to talk about spoiler-wise because the story is fairly simplistic. That's the biggest criticism I have of it, that the story is basic when you look at it in simple terms. It is very much about the characters converging and it's about having fun and excitement and action all over across the place. But yeah, I love this film. I would go see it again. I would recommend it. And if you've liked this review, thanks for watching.